Hey there, avid listeners. Thanks again for tuning in to Sim's Workshop. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You'll have to forgive me. I am slightly congested. I don't know if it's a cold. I don't know if it's just my allergies. But that would explain why I'm sounding super nasally. In any case, we are going to be talking about Forgery of Roses today by Jessica S. Olson. This was a winner on my website for the book of the month. So, honestly, at the end of the day, I want to say this. I want to start by saying this. At the end of the day, I did like the book. However, there are a lot of ups and downs with the story as a whole. And, I've read Olson's work before. Her previous book, Sink Me Forgotten, you could check out my podcast review for that. I absolutely love that book. I mean, that book is still so very vivid in my mind, even though I read it over a year ago. Those books. Those books that just stay with you. Unfortunately, A Forgery of Roses was not one of them. I think a lot of that has to do with the overall pacing of the book. It has a really nice atmosphere. And it has a nice setting. It's a blend of gothic and fantasy and mystery. These are three things that I do tend to love. However, together they weren't as cohesive as I would have wanted them to be. So, Forgery of Roses, it follows a young girl named Myra, and she's the sole caretaker of her alien sisters after her parents' disappearance. Her mother, she has a gift, right? So let me start by saying that. She has a gift. She can alter reality through a painting. She can paint, and if she sees a cut on you and paints you without a cut, your cut goes away. Basically, that's, in layman's terms, that's how her magic works. And her mother had the same gift. Now, a lot of artists have been going missing and found dead. Her mother has not been found dead, and her father is also missing as well. So it really is a power that people love or hate. A lot of people think that the gift of the artist belongs to the great artist. We'll go ahead and say their god themselves, versus individuals. They think, just think Salem witch trials. They think anyone with that gift, is kind of an abomination, is squandering it. It should only be used for the great artists themselves. So they tend to keep their gifts a secret. But then, Myra's caught. And she's caught by the governor's wife, no less. And governor's wife, he's really anti magical gifts. And you learn why, you understand why. But she's caught, she's offered a proposition from the governor's wife. She's like, I'm not going to expose you. However, I need you to bring my son back from the dead. The newspapers think he's sick. No, he's dead. I need you to bring him back to life so that I can have my son back, so that he can solve this murder of who attempted to kill him. And she offers her a lot of money, which Myra could use. Her sister, again, very, very sick. She has she desperately needs medical attention. Pretty much anything she eats, I guess it's kind of like heartburn for your intestines. I know that's a really stupid way to describe it, but she ends up, anything she eats, she ends up getting very, very sick. So it's almost like, it's a gastrointestinal disease, basically. And they don't know exactly what's wrong with her, and they don't have the money. So Myra takes a job because she could use this money. She's like, I can finally get my sister the help she desperately needs. And she goes, and this is where the mystery starts. I will say this, the atmosphere is very reminiscent of, for me, of Poe and Dickens, these alleyways, the fogginess. I really was put into the setting with the author's, description and atmosphere. I think Olsen did a really good job with building up this gothic, classic literature-like setting. And I really do think it adds to the story as a whole, especially once Myra gets to the governor's mansion and there's this 5th floor that it's like, nope, 5th floor is forbidden. She's like, I'm going to go there and investigate. She's like, what if the murderer is hiding up there and you guys don't even know because you're always stuck down here? And she has, the help of the older son, whose name unfortunately has escaped me and I didn't write it down in my notes. She has the help of him, and they investigate this abandoned, decrepit 5th floor. And it's haunting, and it's great. I love the detail. I love the horror that's kind of there as well within these paintings. The governor, he's against this kind because this kind of magic because his grandfather or great-grandfather horribly abused it. I mean, he would mutilate and experiment on people using his magic so that he could see what could he do with his magic. And he was a horrible, despicable person. So you understand why the governor is against people having this magical gift. The only experience he's had with it is someone who is abusive with this magic, who abused their magic and did horrible, horrible things to people. So I loved the detail, the setting. It was eerie, it was haunting, it was gothic. I wanted way more of that than I actually got, because once we're investigating the 5th floor, that's kind of where it kind of stops. The pacing just sort of comes to a standstill, I think. If I had to pinpoint the moment, it would be there. She has a certain number of days to bring the sunlight to life. She doesn't. She had to follow rules. You're not allowed to go anywhere else except here. Again, it doesn't happen. She breaks the rules, so then she's kicked out earlier than she was supposed to be. It's just a whole lot of things cut too early, and then the author's trying to be like, okay, how do I stretch this out even more? Because that's what it felt like to me. I did like the tension of her getting kicked out a little early, but from that point, the story seemed to stretch and it felt longer than it actually was. I was just like, I needed the story to move at a faster pace than it actually was moving at. And I feel like when she's at the house, other than the gothic mystery, it still feels like a whole lot of nothing happened. She's experimenting with her magic. She's kind of finding out why it's not working. She's like, there's something wrong about this body. You get it. You see it. That's another mystery element. But it still seems like a whole lot of nothing is happening. It wasn't really memorable. I can't really remember things as vivid as I was with The Sing Me Forgotten. And I really was disappointed by that aspect of the novel. I wanted more of the gothic. I wanted more of the mystery. Especially because there's this love triangle that kind of develops, and it was very unnecessary. You have this other guy, he's a forger, and she's going to him to try to investigate, these papers, because she's like, well, what if the governor is the one who killed his son? So she is trying to figure out who killed the son, because she needs to know exactly what kind of mental state he might have been in order to bring him back to life. The thing is, and the reason I have an issue is, this guy is clearly supposed to be, in his 20s, not that much older than her. Initially, when I first read it, I'm like, this guy sounds like he's 40. And, people can have old souls, that's, understandable, but oh my god, he sounded like he was 40, and it creeped me out when I first read it. It's not until the story continues to progress that I'm just like, okay, he's not 40, he's younger. It still felt really weird. Because he doesn't read like a 20-something-year-old. He reads like a 40-year-old. And it's really weird. And for me, it was really creepy. And it wasn't necessary. I don't think it actually added anything to the story other than to just exist and be there. It didn't really add a whole lot of tension. It didn't really add to the character dynamics as well. Now, when it comes to the characterization, I have a love-hate relationship with Myra because she seems like two different people. On the one hand, she seems really, really caring and genuine and, a really good heroine with a lot of normal flaws. On the other hand, it's just like me. She comes off as a really, really selfish individual. Life is unfair. It's dealt her a hard hand. We get it. But the way she views things, like the governor's son, the one who's still alive, he has a severe case of social anxiety. So he tries to put up a front around his family. And he kind of just does what they want because, again, he has so much anxiety. Just being in a room full of people scares the crap out of him. But he does it. She views him as weak and bothersome. And I'm like, you really aren't opening your mind to understanding exactly what he's going through. What she wants is for him to change. And I'm like, no, he doesn't have to change. I think what the author did do really well was highlight the strength of his character. Unfortunately, that is often overshadowed by Myra's perspective as viewing him as weak and incoherent. He doesn't have a strength. He doesn't have a mind of his own. He has to change. And that really bothered me. And I'm like, you really don't deserve him. I mean, he's telling you what's wrong and you're not really opening your mind. You're just like, no, you just need to be stronger. You just need to open your mind more. You just need to open your mouth more. And that really, really bothered me. I don't think it was a really good representation for people with, social anxiety. I do think the way she portrayed him, it's just like, anyone with anxiety can see the strength exude from his character. You're definitely seeing, wow, it takes a lot of courage for him to just do what his family wants, even though it makes him incredibly uncomfortable. But no one should be forcing him to be something he's not. And Myra's kind of doing that the same way his family is. Granted, she does realize that by the end of the novel. She's just like, you're perfect just the way you are. She's like, and then she holds his hand and, they become a couple, blah, blah, blah. But it takes her the whole course of the novel to realize, wow, I'm being exactly like his family. I'm trying to force him to be someone he's not. I like that character development. But again, it was overshadowed by her needless selfishness. That kind of just pissed me off. Especially, what really bothered me was she references her sister as a walking corpse. And I'm just like, as realistic as that is, sometimes people have, especially caretakers, family caretakers, sometimes those thoughts do creep in. I get it. It's realistic. But I don't think anyone really wants to be kind of reminded by that in literature. It is realistic. I don't think it added to the story. It just made her seem more abrasive and cold, and it made her seem like a more selfish character than I think the author intends her to be. Because again, she has the capability to be very thoughtful and very caring, but I think it is overshadowed a lot by a lot of her selfish behavior and tone and just me attitude. So, I have to give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. There were a lot of things that bugged me, but overall I did enjoy reading it, if anything, for the mystery. And that ending was jaw-dropping. Didn't see it coming at all. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast. Please also purchase the book from your local bookseller if you are going to purchase it. And have a great rest of your day, everyone. you.